day, it's taxing.
It means that other kinds of weather get stuck in other places, too. So we'll talk about that coming up. But first, those temperature swings that are going to be happening here. I know a lot of you have felt it, and the swing in temperatures coming are going to play a role in the severe storms. Now, Boston, you woke up to a frost advisory this morning, but it's going to change by the end of the week.
So I just want to say that this morning in North Florida, it was in the upper 30s as well.
Wow.
How about that? Crestview, one of my favorite places, 38 degrees this morning. At least could have been lower than that per hour.
I mean, for any time of the year.
Right.
Certainly, like getting, what is this now? Late April,
Yes.
basically?
It was 40 at my house, and it was hard not to put the puffy coat on, I have to say.
Right.
I knew it was going to be 75 later, but it was chilly. Yeah. It's all going to change.
Yes, it shall. Well, families in the Midwest, also in the crosshairs of the temperature swings and also some stormy times. That's an area where we are finding some of the wet weather and gray skies. So let's talk a little bit more about how this is all going to be playing out with the system.
It truly was a very bad storm here, and I'm going to give you some perspective on that here. Both from the winds and from the hail. From the wind perspective, very powerful straight line winds. From the hail perspective, this is not an area of the country that you think of getting this really large hail. So that's the area that we're watching. There's Rock Hill. There's the thunderstorm that was coming through. We can put it in the 3D so you can see just how tall and strong this thunderstorm was here, extending well up into the atmosphere, went right over Rock Hill. And a thunderstorm like this, a supercell like this, has the capability to hold on to hailstones inside to grow very large. And that's what happened here. Just inside that storm, we had some intense hail. Now, was it record breaking? The state record is 4.5 inches. That was in the year 2000. The largest hail on Saturday was 4 inches in Rock Hill. So, yes, it's close, but it actually is not a record, but it's up there in the upper echelon. And again, this is not an area of the country that you think of for that large hail. That's more like in Oklahoma or Texas. So we're expanding out across the Mississippi Valley. But while, obviously it can happen, we just saw it, and we've seen, something slightly larger before, it's not the area that you most often think of. We do actually have the chance for some hail in the area that you would expect the very large hail today. We're watching a zone right here across parts of West Texas, up into the Panhandle. This is where we could see that 2-inch size or greater hail. Again, remember what happened in Rock Hill in North Carolina was that 4-inch hail. That's possible today. 2-inch size or greater is the risk area that we are looking at. And what's going to be happening here is that we're going to have a new area of low pressure developing. The hail parameter, this area in purple, showing us where that's sort of the likely zone for it. And there's not going to be a lot of storms, but there's going to be a few. And any one of them have that potential to grow to get that strength, that strength in an updraft, which could allow that kind of hail to form here. You got to have the warm, really high dew point air coming into it. You get little super cool droplets that form out there, and with a strong updraft, they can stay up suspended above the freezing level, and that allows them to grow and grow and grow, and the hail will fall when it gets larger than it can, the updraft can sustain it. So this is something we'll watch for you today, but actually today's just the start of a multi-day risk, Greg, and right here in the middle of the country, temperature side of this, and how temperatures are going to go up and down this week and then end up going up. For Boston, we are sitting at 39 degrees as our coldest number this morning. Burlington dropped to 33. Look at Richmond, look at Raleigh, look at Asheville, 34. So it actually was even cooler a little further to the south as that high pressure really settled in here. We are going to be watching for a brief warm-up ahead of this next front, and then behind it, that's when we get the cold air that comes in here maybe one last time. Well, I won't say last time for the season, but for a while anyway. So we look at the numbers tonight. Marquette, Duluth, you're going to be in the 20s. That's the air that's going to be swinging into the northeast. In the south today, you're warming up more than you have the past couple. A lot of 70s back here all across the deep south. Really a very nice day for most of you. Temperatures warming back up. It's not really too humid just yet. And as we get you through the weekend, we're going to see the jet stream building into more of a ridge. That's going to send the numbers even higher on the thermometer here. But with the pattern in place, you'll start to feel that sort of humidity rise as well. Temperatures by Sunday, we're going into the 80s. We're going to be about 10 degrees above average across a lot of the eastern half of the country. When you look and see how it evolves, tomorrow 21 million above average, Friday 72 million above average, and by Sunday 171 million people above average here. It's a lot of the eastern half of the country. country. And in the south and east, where maybe you're just close to average, you're warm. I mean, look at Columbus, Ohio. We're going to 83. Your average is 67. So things are really warming up as we get through this week here. And there's a trend that's you're going to play out in so many places, including New York City, which I think the key thing about this forecast, guys, is that not only does it warm up, but it dries out. No rain. Warm and dry.
Yeah.
Weekend.
Double bonus.
It is a bonus. Yeah, it's a good weekend coming up. Well, a lot of cheers out there, too, as people enjoy.
You, what is your favorite national park? And, which spot do you think should kind of join their ranks?
Yes, I like this question here. I'm curious to Michigan.
Oh, okay. All right.
Do they have sleeping bear there?
You have to go and find out, Greg. You have to go and find out. We'll go to Thread, send us your comments, share your pics and video with us using the hashtag YesTV.
On the next 5.
The risk of thunderstorms and really heavy rainfall. Will there be any problems with flooding? It's been a busy year so far. We look at flood reports. We're well above average, actually nearly double.
Yeah, the most interesting part of this graphic is all the way down here, but you can see that we are well above average. It's been a rainy time, but the question is, where has it been very rainy so far this year?
I mean, well, we just had all that big flooding going on in southern parts of Louisiana. Yep. You look at where the flood deaths have happened here, a number in Texas, in Oklahoma, Louisiana, a couple in the mid-Atlantic as well, and California.
So you get a sense where it's been really raining, like here in pockets, but we're losing some of that in the middle part of the country. And we'll talk about that here.
Yeah, and that's an area that we haven't seen it. So this is just the past month where we've seen the rainfall. Louisiana, Mississippi.
In the parts of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast,
Valley,
but not so much in the Central Plains.
Yes, and that happens to be where the models are pointing at getting some rainfall. Now, this is an area that's dry. We look at moderate, severe drought, actually extreme drought up in Iowa.
Yep, and so we could use rain, as we mentioned. It would be nice if we got some, maybe not so much all at once, but if you look at some of the models, this is a forecast going from Wednesday through Sunday, so it's like a 4 to 5 day period. Yeah, we're going to get some here.
That's the Euro model. The GFS shows it a little farther to the north.
Yeah.
But you look at, these colors. You guys know our colors. When you start to get into the yellows, 3 to 5 inches, orange, 5 to 8 inches, that's a lot of rainfall if you get that in a short period of time. And if you get in an hour a couple of inches, it actually could cause some problems.
It doesn't take a whole lot to flood, which is what this map tells us, where those light shades of green are. You can see that it can flood pretty quickly, and same goes for some surrounding areas as well.
Yeah, 3 to 4 inches of rain here across parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, but less. I mean, we're talking 1 to 2 inches of rain in Iowa, and you could get that in an hour, especially with the kind of atmosphere that we have setting up here. So we are concerned about possible flash flooding. Alex?
Well,
Chicago, 59 degrees, not bad for early morning, especially considering we were in the 30s all the way down in northern Florida.
Yeah, you had to head north to warm up here this morning. Well, here's what it looks like in Chicago for the rest of the day. Baseball fans, you got the Cubs welcoming in the Astros here, and there's the chance we could see some storms here later this afternoon. Now, first pitch, a bit after 6:30 or so, 6:40. It looks like any opportunities for the rain should be out of here by that point. So I think we should get the game.
Yeah, and the cold air doesn't blast in. You saw the winds change direction. So we are going to get a front that comes through during the game. But the cold air comes in after that. So you're kind of golden, actually.
Yeah. Here's what's going on right now. Cloudy skies. They're in Chicago. Most of the rain for the moment is well to your south, and a bit more cloud cover streaming across the rest of lower Michigan. But this is an area where we could see some stronger storms try to fire up as we head on through our day.
Some gusty winds, maybe some small hail. That's a possibility through this area. Chicago, South Bend, we're looking at you early on in through the day. Toledo, our storms come in this afternoon. Detroit, we get a few as well.
And you can see as we get to that 6 o'clock time frame, a few storms kind of popping up here and there and bubbling up. And so we'll keep an eye on those. Those could be a bit frisky here before things quiet down, heading into at least late tonight into tomorrow morning.
All right, so it's a quick moving front comes through, and behind it, yes, it does cool down. So we'll tomorrow morning be watching for another cool time for you out here. The front itself and out ahead of it, the rain extends over into northern parts of Missouri as well.
Yeah, that's where we're seeing some steady rains at this time. Generally, as this all pushes east, I'd say up to an inch. There'll be some pockets you get underneath a heavier downpour or maybe a slower moving storm, and there could be some higher totals showing up. The other thing is the wind. Yesterday was a really windy time across the Midwest.
And it's going to be windy again today. Gusty south winds or southwest winds out ahead of the front. Look at Detroit, 30, 35 miles per hour. And then you see the winds change behind the front Look at this.
Yeah.
We're gusting to 40 miles per hour in Cedar Rapids.
Yeah, so almost a repeat performance, just dealing with the winds out of a different direction this time around. But overall, another windy scenario here across a good chunk of the Midwest.
All right, then we get to the thunderstorm threat here that evolved last season. Our guides needed a break, but they've been staying busy updating their rankings and producing a new film. Friends of the show, Jim and Will Padditz from More Than Just Parks join us now. And we really enjoyed the whole journey last year, going to all the 63 parks, virtually, of course. But you recently released a list of the best parks for 2024. So, Jim, what determines where a park lands on this list? And how did that add up to Olympic being #1 again?
Yeah. Well, we see on the list that the West Coast parks certainly did very well in the survey. We're near moving to second, Death Valley climbing 9 spots. So, Will, how does the recent string of rainy and even snowy conditions add to the scenery at some of these parks?
Yeah. And in the short term here, some of these new features might be fleeting, so I feel like we have to see it. Alex has a fascination with the park that happens to be last on your list, Gateway Arch. So, Jim, where does it fall short on your criteria, and how did this even become a national park?
Oh, boy, Jen.
Getting away from it, it's an impressive monument, but
yes.
We agree.
Yes, I had no idea it was a park until recently, so totally understandable. Now, we know you guys have a new project in the works that focuses on one of Utah's wonders. Will give us a glimpse into life elevated there at Natural Bridges National Monument.
Well, we got to say, Utah Office of Tourism has
phenomenal. You guys are like the sommeliers of national parks. I feel like they could recommend the perfect park for all of us. Many thanks, Jim and Will Padditz. You can check out their full rankings along with a guide to planning your trip to the national parks at morethanjustparks.com.
Awesome stuff, right? Man, it just gets you excited to go visit the parks.
It does.
Well, don't forget our
turns today. Overall, we've been doing pretty good this morning. The trouble spot continues to be San Francisco every day, but they're doing construction, so there's no weather, reason for it.
There you go, and everyone else is looking pretty good across the board here, from the Midwest to the East Coast as well. Overall, I think today should actually be a pretty decent day for our travels. Winds again in the Midwest may cause some issues here and there.
That might be one of the surprises for today. If you get winds gusting 35, 40 plus miles per hour, that can create some slowdowns here. If volume isn't that high, then you might not realize it into a delay. But certainly something that pilots and air traffic controllers are looking at.
Absolutely. Right now, we're seeing some showers, very light rain around Detroit, steadier rains there, central Illinois into northern portions of Missouri.
Now, we've got rain on the roads today, traveling 70. If you're traveling 94, 96, those are all going to be impacted by showers and maybe even thunderstorms.
Speaking of those thunderstorms, watch for the threat back into Texas today. This is a zone here for you, including around Guthrie, Wichita Falls, down towards Abilene, where we could see some stronger storms develop later on today. I'll watch for some wind, hail, some threats that we do face with those storms. So Interstate 20 could be a zone to be mindful of.
All the hazards here. This is a spot where if you can get your car in the garage today, I would. If you've got a maybe parking undercover somewhere, I would do that as well, because we are going to look for that chance of hail, although they will be isolated in terms of the storms that we will see.
Yeah, absolutely. You just don't want a situation like we saw there in South Carolina. It was insane, the hail they had to deal with there. All right, so here's what it looks like during the afternoon. Some of those thunderstorms firing up, and then anywhere in that red zone, again, we'll have to keep an eye on things very closely for, again, some nasty storms to develop. All
right, on the roads here in the Northeast, tomorrow, here comes the front, here comes the rain showers. We'll see the chance for showers moving along 90, the New York State Thruway, 80. If you're traveling along the Pennsylvania Turnpike, showers on the move throughout the day.
Most of this should be light here, so it shouldn't cause any major headaches, but whenever we're talking any kind of precipitation, just give yourself a little extra time to get to where you need to head to and slow it down.
Yeah, exactly. Here, so something to watch again tomorrow. Alex, I don't know what to say, but my clicker is just moving so slowly. Click, click,
well,
click.
We could talk about this for the next.
I know. That's the thing. You never have to really give meteorologists too many maps, because
not at all.
They'll just talk.
You do have some breaks in the action here for you as you're working along 95. I think New York down to D.C. should actually be pretty quiet for tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, you can stay on top of the threats here. The upper echelon of storms for us here. Very strong winds, very strong straight line winds came out of the storm, and also that very large hail. Here's the storm cell that did it. The supercell that moved through again to south of Charlotte, going right towards Rock Hill right there. It extended tall up into the atmosphere, and this was the kind of storm that had the ability to sustain a very strong updraft that allowed the hail to grow to such big size, to such a large size. We had hail 4-inch in diameter here. And you might be wondering, is that a record? Well, the record for the state in South Carolina is 4.5 in 2000. The largest hail that we had was 4 inches. So close to the record. Not quite, though, the record-breaking hail. Needless to say, though, you're close to it. This is not the area of the country that you would expect to get that kind of big hail, right? That's actually more traditionally in Oklahoma and northern Texas. Not to say it can't happen, but it's not the spot that you would expect. The spot that you would expect turns out to have a risk for hail starting today, and it actually expands over the next several days. Today's risk area is across the Texas Panhandle, maybe extending up into Oklahoma. This is where we could see that 2-inch size or greater hail. And again, that could do some damage. That puts big dents in your car. That could do some roof shingle damage as well. If there's wind with the storm, that can create some shingle damage or some siding damage on your house. Now, the background color, the purple, is the hail parameter, showing us where it's possible. Storms are going to be isolated starting this afternoon, but moving into that atmosphere that has that potential to create thunderstorms that could create hail. So this is something that we have to watch out for and think about the kind of storms that we could be working with across the area today to get the kind of hail like we saw in Rock Hill, like we could see over the next few days here across the plains. You have to have a really strong updraft. When you get 3-inch teacup size hail or 4-inch softball size hail, you would have an updraft with winds of 85 to 100 miles per hour. And, you know, that's a significant storm. You look at hail reports and where we are kind of right at average, but we're going to watch that potential here for more storms producing hail going over the next few days over parts of West Texas into Oklahoma. This is tomorrow, and then it actually continues into your Thursday as well. Greg, we really have a busy couple of days with a multi-day severe event on our hands.
Yeah, you're right about that.